Hi everyone, I'm Jay,
I'm Colin.
and this is Star Wars Conversations.
Yay.
And we're back
We're back.
by Dope
We're
Demand.
back, dude. We're
We are,
back.
we
It's
sure are.
awesome.
And,
It's
and
awesome sauce.
look at Colin, it looks like it's summer where he is.
It's definitely not summer here. There's a lot of rain going on.
So how you doing, man? You all right?
Awesome, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm super stoked, super Star Wars stoked. Living the high after our brilliant December of Rise of Skywalker and The Mandalorian. What an
Yeah.
amazing treat we've had. Not quite up to date on Star Wars Resistance, but I'm almost there. So
Yeah. Are you enjoying that still?
yeah, it's all right.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all
So
right.
I still haven't watched it, but I'm thinking maybe I should check it out. I might just wait until we get Disney Plus because it'll all be on there, and I can just it's
Exactly.
easier to just stream it rather than go looking for it. So I think what's that March time we're getting that, right? It's only a couple of months away, not even.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting Clone Wars season 7. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm thinking I might have to go rewatch some of the old ones as well because it's been such a long time since I watched them.
Yeah.
Do you remember the old Clone Wars cartoon that was a bit like Samurai Jack?
Yeah, I love that. I've been
Do you think that's
rewatching
on
it.
there? Do you think that's going to be on there? Or...
Well, it's not canon anymore, is it?
No, but I mean they own it, right?
Yeah, they own it. I don't know. I don't know if it is or not. I've been rewatching it because
Yeah,
I've got it. I had it anyway, so I've been rewatching it.
I quite like that one.
It's just super action packed. It's so short. They're such short little episodes that it's just
Yeah,
like you just get on with it.
yeah,
There's no fluff.
no fluff at all. No. So so we've just had like the Mandalorian, and before going into any topics or anything, but
Dun,
I
dun,
just
dun,
saw
dun, dun,
a
dun,
little
dun.
I saw a little post about season 2, and
Oh yeah, tell me more,
so
Jay.
the woman's name is Janina uh, Gavanka or whatever her name is. She played I can't remember what the character's name is in Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Oh yeah,
Where
yeah.
she
Old
played
Iden
the
Verso.
Iden Versa, that's it. She played her, and so supposedly a casting leak for season 2 came out, and she was on it
Oh,
as
she's in
Iden
it.
Versa,
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
and so somebody tweeted her with the thing and said, "Is this real?" And she said, "You'll have to ask Mr. Filoni." That was her answer. She didn't go any further than that. I was like, oh, okay. So when on her reply, it had, how Twitter will sort of have the previous conversation below with a picture. So I clicked on the picture, and when you look at the picture, she's on there, but Chloe Bennett's on there as Dr. Aphra. And I was like, what? And Chloe Bennett? And I was like,
That's perfect casting, by the way.
oh, I know,
She
right?
would
It's
be
good.
brilliant as Dr. Aphra.
And so, yeah, what do you think of that then? Those two characters being in it. I mean, I
That would
don't know
be
if this is
epic.
real. And
That would be
her,
epic if it
her
is. Yeah.
response. I mean, the response she gave isn't really a yes or no, but it's a bit cryptic, right? Which
Well,
she's gonna do.
she's not doing much else, is she? So she probably wants the attention. But
Yeah,
man, I'm excited about that. That's good stuff.
because it would work, right? Timeline wise, she
Yeah.
would have at that point, should have become a rebel by then. If we go by Battlefront 2, like at what point I can't remember because it's so long since I played
I
it.
think Battlefront was a couple of years. It wasn't straight. It was fairly
The,
soon after
the
Return of the Jedi, wasn't it?
Mandalorian's
Yeah.
5 years after Return of the Jedi, right?
Oh, I'll tell you what. No, it will
Did
be
you do the Battle
because
of Jakku?
you get the Battle of Jakku, and that's before the end of Mandalorian, isn't it? Before Mandalorian, the Battle of Jakku must be.
So she'll be a rebel then by that point.
Yeah, it should be a rebel by then. Oh, wicked.
And then so okay, so if she's in it, that's quite cool. And then if Chloe Bennett was Dr. Aphra, so you read comics, so Dr. Aphra is still
Yeah, that doesn't fit timeline. Well, it does, I guess. Because last time we've seen her in the comics is in between Empire and Return of the Jedi.
And how old is she, would you say, in the comics then at that point?
Well, so
Because you know I'm going with this. Chloe
Yeah,
Bennet
she's going to be about the same age as Luke, I would say, maybe a little bit.
so she's probably a bit young for that role then.
Not really. Well, so Luke's what 20 in A New Hope, and that's roughly, I would say, the age she is. So yeah, I would say
That's not 20 in A New Hope.
he's
younger than that. Well, he's a bit younger than that. Yeah, he's like sort of. I thought he was meant to be like 17 or something in New Hope, or like 19. I don't think he's 20.
Well,
I thought
about
he was like 17 or something.
So I think she's the same age as Luke, maybe, because she's an archaeologist, so she can't be super young.
Yeah, but so yeah, do you think she'd be a good cast for that position?
Yeah,
so Luke's 19 in New Hope. 19 in New Hope. Yeah. So
yeah,
I mean,
think she would be.
I stopped watching Agents of Shield like
right
back at the beginning, so I don't know what she's like now. But yeah,
she's hot. That's what she's like.
So then, okay, if we got her, does that mean we'd get 000 and those guys?
BT, I hope so. That would be wicked.
That would be cool. And they know that fans like them, so I'm sure they'd bring them into it, right?
Why wouldn't they? Well, they need something to up the stakes on Baby Yoda, don't they? So,
but then
what's more cuddly than BT and 000?
But then the question is, because I don't really know the character of Dr. Aphra that much, other than what you've told me. So, what part would she really play in something like this? Is she the kind of character that would get involved with these guys?
Yeah, because she's a bit of a fortune hunter as well, isn't she? So she'll be looking for some kind of relic or she'll be trying to get something for money. Right. And that fits in really nicely with bounty hunters, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So she might see Baby Yoda as an opportunity.
Oh God, yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, I don't know if that's true, but I just saw it this evening just before we started recording, like a couple of hours ago, and I thought, oh, this is quite cool. This is interesting.
It would fit, man, wouldn't it?
Mm. So that could be something. I mean, they're already filming Mandalorian season 2, so who knows if anything's been done there, or if it's in upcoming episodes. It might just be a one-off episode with her in it, or something like that, with either of those characters. But yeah, I just thought I'd share that little tidbit. I did post it on our Star Wars Conversations Facebook group, so if anyone wants to read it, it's all on there.
I'm going to check that out as soon as I finish talking to you, Jay.
Another side note, it was did you by any chance see the video that I posted of Robert My Burnett reading the screenplay for Duel of the Fates?
I didn't actually watch it, but I got obviously the gist of what it was, so it sounds quite cool.
I thought it sounded, I haven't watched all of it yet. I'm halfway through it, but I thought it sounded really good. And actually, there was a few times I was like, why didn't they just do this? Like, it sounded really good.
What's the main differences then?
It's completely different, really. But I mean, he got this screenplay, and a couple of people on our group are going, "No, it sounds like fan fiction bullshit." But Robert My Burnett, he's worked in Hollywood for a long time, like in the movie industry. He's the guy that did like all the special features for Lord of the Rings and all that kind of stuff. And he's always been someone who likes to read what could have been screenplays, because a lot of them are available, And he managed to get hold of this one, and he put the crawl up and just sort of, done a sort of. He didn't read through it, but he kind of like had sort of detailed it and starts going through. It's worth checking out because there's a lot in there, but it's worth just sort of like putting it on one day, if you're maybe on treadmill or you're in the car or whatever, and just have it playing in the background to just listen to it, because there's so many things. It's been a couple of days now since I played it because my damn internet at work went down, so I couldn't. Because I listen to all this stuff at work. Anyway, I thought I'd ask, but check it out. And again, I've put that part 1 and part 2 on the group, so people who are members of Star Wars Conversations can enjoy it, and people who aren't members should become members.
Yay!
Right. So, in other news, High Republic movies set 400 years before.
Yeah. I like the sound of this as well. So some exciting news shooting out into our ear holes, Jay.
Yeah. So yeah, that sounds quite interesting. So they mentioned that at this point, Yoda would be, you know, a Jedi, like younger, obviously, but
400 years.
Yeah. So
yeah.
now I don't know if he would end up being a main character. Hopefully not, but he might appear and be in some scenes or whatever. But this is quite cool.
We don't want too much Yoda.
No, because you want to expand the universe, but it's taking us to a time where they can really do anything, because it's never been, and even like the Jedi at this point could be quite different from what we've seen, say in episode 1 and that kind of stuff, because you're 400 years before, like, things change, right? So you found this news quite exciting?
I think very excited, mate. I think that's a good move. I think we were sort of, I mean, obviously everyone wants Old Republic, but this is a good sort of something different. So I like it.
The thing that I wasn't too sure about, they mentioned that it would be after Darth Bane has created the rule of 2. And I was like, wouldn't it have been cool if it was before the rule of 2? So you could have like loads of Sith fighting like Jedi, and also you'd have a lot of backstabbing going on. Because if you're gonna, I mean, in a way, I kind of think if you're going to do that, wouldn't it be good to show why we have the rule of 2 as well? Because you can really tell a story showing 2 sides of something. Do you know what I mean? I mean, obviously we don't know where they're going with this story and what they plan to do is. So obviously a lot of it's speculation or what we think would be cool. But I would have been interested to see, like, the reason he makes the rule of 2 and how they're treacherous to each other and all that kind of stuff, I just thought that would be a better approach. I mean, unless they've got plans for other stuff they're going to bring in later on, and maybe they want to introduce you to Darth Bane now, and he'd be maybe the main antagonist of this trilogy.
It's hard, isn't it? Because there's so much they can do and couldn't do. I find it hard to say what I think they should do, to be honest. So yeah.
And the problem is that this far out, and there is a lot of people speculating, and this is what happens with the movies, right? You get your ideas in your head, and then when they don't do it,
well, there's no precedence for what this could look like. So at the moment, it's just so open. It's difficult to get excited about it or have this is how it should be, because we've not seen that era, so we don't know. I think
the only key things is to keep the Star Warsiness about it, so the Star Wars humor and
keep it Star Warsy, man.
But do you know what I mean? Because otherwise, it could really just be any old sci-fi.
We don't want like boring, like some political drama set in Star Wars land. I don't want that bollocks.
You need a certain amount of politics, though, right? Star Wars always has some politics.
I know, but not a political drama. I don't want it to be a
courtroom drama.
Yeah, or do you know what I mean? Or I don't want a Game of Thrones.
Right.
I want a simple. Now Mandalorian spoiled me with my simpleness. Now I want a fairly simple program. I don't want effort. I want effort, because really Star Wars isn't meant to be too confusing, is it? Because when it gets confusing, it just gets confusing. Well, it's not in a good confusing.
Well, no, you're right, because I mean, even if we go back to the original trilogy,
I am right.
We watched these things as young children, and we understood it all. So while it had enough complexity in it to make it interesting, it was also simple enough for everyone to just get on board and follow. And you didn't even, I mean, if you watch them in a different order, you would still go into the movie and just be watching a fun, exciting movie, and you could pick up what was going on quite easily.
Yeah, what I think I liked the most about how the original trilogy is I don't think it was complex at all, but it just went into the world and assumed you knew what the hell they were talking about.
Well, the crawls help, right?
Yeah, but not even that. But like when they talk about the Clone Wars, they talk about all the different things, and we've got no idea what any of that is. It just sounds cool, and so, but they don't put any effort in to tell you what it is, and so there's a mystery, but it's not like a mystery box mystery like JJ would create. It's just There's stuff that you don't know about, and
But you don't need to know about.
It piques your interest,
Mm.
but it's not like it doesn't affect the storytelling. It just makes the world that much more richer.
Well, it does, because it makes you know there's other stuff going on. But it's like when you meet someone, you don't know their whole life story. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
like
I do.
you know them from the time you meet them, and then whatever they tell you, they tell you. But it's things like going into it too much. Let's say Boba Fett, for example. Once they started adding him as a kid in stuff, it made him less cool. You know, like he was a whiny little brat, and it's like, come on, man! Like I didn't need to know, because before any of that, he was just this mysterious bounty hunter that everyone kind of got the gist that he was the badass, and that was it. Don't need to know anymore. Yeah, don't need to know more than that. And same with the Clone Wars. I think the Clone Wars were cooler when you didn't know what they were than when you actually saw them. Because in my mind, the Clone Wars were amazing, and then when I saw them, they weren't how obviously my mind created it, which everyone's got their own interpretation of it, but they were nothing like what I thought. So anyway, so 400 years before the High Republic trilogy. So that's on its way. That's one of the announcements that have come out.
And do we know any more about who's behind the scenes on it in terms of?
No, I don't know who's behind the scenes on that one, but I don't know. I think this was what Benioff and Weiss were going to be working on.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. That's what it was.
So I don't know who would be taking over from that.
Ron Howard.
Yeah, he's just on standby. Okay, Ron, we lost these guys. Can you just come in? Like, that's what's going to happen, right?
Why not?
Ron Howard is Lucasfilm standby guy.
He's a supply teacher.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Right. So. With that out of the way, after Rise of Skywalker, which I really liked personally.
I loved it.
However, there are a lot of plot holes and stuff like that in there, right?
Wouldn't be a Star Wars film without them.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot, and it is kind of like just because this happens now, you know, whatever. Anyway, so thinking about that, and this was something I was having a conversation with someone at work about, and we're talking about.
You were having a Star Wars conversation with somebody else, Jay.
I have Star Wars conversations every day, but we were talking about you know, The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker, and I said, did the sequel trilogy really need to be made? Like, once you got to Return Jedi, obviously you had the finish of it there, right? But this trilogy, if you didn't know about these ones, and someone said to you, write a sequel trilogy that continues after Return of the Jedi, however many years, whatever. I don't think anyone would have come up with this, right? I think it would have been very different, because just looking at the logical sort of like where things would go, and it's like, you know, this is just like, okay, so now this happens. It all felt like that. And then I thought about like
the logical where it would go is the Legends book series.
Well,
that was organically grown.
But see, and so my thought was that
it did change the universe.
Even if you, you know how they always say, oh, we'll pick and choose bits from the expanded universe, but we don't have to use everything. But pretty much everyone was like, well, why wouldn't you have Jaina and, you know,
Jason,
like and you know, Darth Caedus
and the GA and all that was so good.
But like you know, even if you didn't use everything, I don't see why they wouldn't have just gone, well, but these characters like Jaina and stuff like that, they're known and people love them. Like, why not make these characters like, because Rey could have just been Jaina instead of being Rey, do you know what I mean? And
because people like JJ like to do the mystery boxes, and they can't do that if they've got characters people know about.
But the thing is, like, even like the characters, like these characters in this sequel trilogy, the main crew, I cared about the characters from Rogue One more, right? And that was one movie, and it's just like this bunch of characters who, you know, like I've said before, the unsung heroes are gonna go in. They know that all is lost, but they're gonna do it anyway because they want to help the rebellion to, you know, get the plans. Blah, blah, blah. But with these ones, it's kind of like, okay, whatever. I mean, look
I think
at
that's a
Finn,
bit
for
harsh
example.
because
Like
that's a
Finn
good.
for me is a wasted character, right? It's the first time you've got a guy who's a stormtrooper, and they do nothing with that really, you know.
No.
And actually,
Well,
in that Duel of the Fates read through, one of the things he did have in there was that Finn realizes there's other stormtroopers like him, and he goes to try and get them out of the First Order and stuff like that. So he starts, you know,
giving them a purpose.
yeah, and it did feel like in some places these characters just were, we've got these characters, do something with them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, look, I get what you're saying, man. But I do think like the Rogue One characters, that story so specific
Yeah.
that you're designed to like those characters because it's a one-off story, isn't it? You know, it's really short and sharp. I actually think the main characters from the new saga are actually all really good. I really like the three main characters and obviously Kylo. I think they're all good characters, and I'd more than happily see more films with them. So I've got no problems with them. I
I'm not saying
agree
I dislike
they didn't do anything good with them. Yeah, like you know, definitely. If the, I like your point that basically the opportunity that was missed was to do something new, or not even something new, but something
interesting.
to to change the universe. You know,
Yeah.
and again, that's what I loved about the books was that they went from trying to create a new republic, realizing that didn't actually work, and so that's how the Galactic Alliance started, and that was. It's almost like a combination of the First Order, but
Mm.
actually more like the clone fleet from the prequels. And that's how I sort of see that. And, you know, the Galactic Alliance was actually really good because it had like tropes of the Imperials because of just, but it wasn't, it was the good, they were generally good, but they, you know, and there were some amazing admirals and then with the new Jedi Order being built and becoming a really strong force in the galaxy, it was just so you know you actually saw the
But
whole world evolve and then bringing the external threat of the Yuzong Vong in that
you
kind of
see what I
thing.
mean, though? Like, you know, listen to um, how much there was there that you just said in that short
Mhm.
space, right? And I'm kind
But
of
that
like,
was over 20 years. It
yeah,
wasn't
yeah, it
like
was. But I'm not saying like use everything. But if you're gonna, you know, you can pick and choose bits. And you know, when Disney comes to a point where they're like, okay, we're going to do this new trilogy, I'm kind of like, how did they get from like where Jedi ended to right? This is how we're going to do our new trilogy. When you had all this stuff where you could have taken bits, gone, okay, you know, like in those books, you know, Han and Leia, they've got kid, Luke's got kid, you know, and if
grandkids.
we're gonna have Ben in there, why don't we just use the ones that were in the books, and we can change a little bit about how it was done. You know, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but by giving them even those names and all that kind of stuff, like because the thing is, things like Star Wars, things like say like the Marvel comics and all that kind of stuff, they become really popular with like who are considered the fans. You know,
Yeah,
like so Star Wars fans are the ones that love it, and they're the ones that will buy all the books and all the extra merch and all that stuff. And I know you want to bring other people in, but that doesn't stop you bringing other people in. And in fact, if you're getting the core fans excited about it as well, those are the people who are going to be like, oh, dude, this is so
yeah,
good, like, you know, and they'll kind of like start getting other people more into. Do you know where I'm coming from with
yeah.
this?
No, I
And
do get it.
and
Yeah.
and and it's just like as we talked about it, like and you know, like the guy I was talking about, he also liked Rise of Skywalker, but we were kind of like, but did this sequel trilogy actually need to be? Because it, you know, what I mean, it's kind of like even like the Emperor in Rise of Skywalker, it's kind of like, okay, Emperor's back now, and he blew his head up.
They shouldn't have brought the Emperor back. That's the one thing I would agree is that that was a mistake. I think his story should have finished in Return of the Jedi.
Or if they did, just have him, have all those Sith guys with him, like I said, and have like a mass fight, and his lightsaber out. And, anyway, instead of blowing his own head up with his lightning, because, dude, you've had that situation multiple times before. Right? Stop. Just stop.
What do you think would have been really the nod they could have made to the books, which wouldn't have changed the story and was a character that was different enough so that you couldn't guess what was happening, but would have been just a real nice touch. Would have been to call Kylo Ben Solo, to call him Jason Solo. If they had called him Jason, that would have made so much sense, because he basically had a similar arc but completely different story in a way. But and that's what I mean. Jason's story was so tragic in the books. He had a real fall. I mean, his fall was probably better than Vader's fall, I thought. And it was much more believable because it was over such a period of time. When we did see him from a little baby all the way to really failing and becoming this dark side agent.
When we met Ben, he was already just Kylo Ren. Yeah.
But that would have been a nice little twist to like when they call out his name Ben at the end of Force Awakens. That's when we find out what his real name is. Yeah, that would have been amazing. And
it would have been, and that's what I mean. Like,
it never made any sense that he was called Ben.
No, because it was Luke that knew Ben.
Right? Yeah, he was Ben Bumchum.
And that's it's like like if you're gonna do this stuff, take little things like that. Those little nods. They're the fan service things that are.
It would have made more sense for him to be called Lando than it would have done Ben. Wouldn't it?
And now I wish they'd done that.
That would have been a much better name. Yeah. Lando Solo.
Yeah, that's what they should have done. That. But you know what I mean? It's like these are the things where they could have really capitalized on that fandom, and I just don't really get why they would not do that. And I know this is a conversation that's been had like since The Force Awakens came out, but it's just one of these things that came up, and I was like,
it will be had again as well many a time, I'm sure.
Again. Of course it will. So the next thing. So looking at Disney Plus, and you've got The Mandalorian, you've got Cassian Andor TV series coming out, which I'm actually quite looking forward to. I hope they do a good. And also we've got the Obi-Wan series as well. And I was thinking, and I would like this, but have you ever seen an old movie called All Quiet on the Western Front?
No, I've heard of it.
So it's an old movie about World War One, and it's got John Boy Walton in it, and he's a German soldier, right? But you follow him around, and it's like, he's like a good guy, but he fights for Germany. That's where he's German, scripted, right? So I was like, I would love to see them do a series about some Imperials, like maybe a group of Imperials, right? Because you know how like the Empire, obviously it took over different planets, and there were some that prospered through the Empire, and there were ones that were obviously downtrodden. But people that came from once prospered would look at it and be like, oh, the Empire's been good for us. They gave us civilization, they gave us this, they brought in laws and all that kind of stuff. And I'd be quite interested to see a program about some Imperials, and maybe I don't want one where they turn into rebels at the end, as always. I'd like one where, like, you could have like maybe a few of the group go off, but there's other, but just because they're Imperials, like they're not necessarily baddies. Do you know what I mean? I'd be interested in that.
Well, I mean, again, the start in the Battlefront too with Iron Verso and the Inferno Squadron, they are, some of them aren't. I know obviously Iden eventually turns to the rebellion, but some of them don't. And also the novel Lost Stars sort of touching on that a bit.
I was going to go with it, yeah. And I'm like, but I'd like to see something like that. I'd be interested to watch a series where, you follow like some characters through it, but they are Imperials, because we never really see things from that point of view. Because like, if you sort of like see
from a certain point of view,
like the Stormtroopers, they're always like arseholes. you know what I mean? Or like you can never
Then we're
get like,
punching Baby Yoda in the face.
but you know, like, I'd like to see ones who they've come from a world where the Empire's made their world good, and their point of view is like, you know, why wouldn't you want us here? Like, okay, sometimes we have to do things that might be a bit harsh, but you know, we're
Yeah,
trying
boy.
to bring a good world, you know, make your world good, and actually believe in what they're doing. And I'd be quite interested to see something like that. Would you be interested in seeing a show like that?
I would love to see that, Jay.
Do you
Why
think
don't
we
we
could ever
pitch
get
it?
anything like that? Oh, yeah, right.
I don't see why we wouldn't, but I do think it won't be the galactic era if you did get it now.
No, because they really want to push this First Order shit, right?
Which the problem would be, it wouldn't work in the First Order because First Order were a bunch of dicks.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, I just say, give me the galactic era, and I want to see that. This was also part of that same conversation we were having, and I was kind of getting onto like what I'd like to see, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I just thought it'd be quite an interesting point of view to have. It doesn't necessarily have to be a stormtrooper, but you know, maybe a few people that go into the Imperial Academy together, like they're conscripted from their planet, and then someone else, you know, maybe some of them turn to the other side, and they're like, "Why are you doing this?" You know, because that's how they would feel, right?
Yeah, man.
They truly believed in it. If that's what's made their world good, this is how they'd feel about it.
It's a brilliant idea, Jay. I'd greenlight you today. Let's have a word with Kathy, shall we?
Well, you're her mate, so why don't you text her?
All right, I'll send her a message. I might Facebook Messenger.
Okay, cool. Okay, and
could I use the Star Wars theme without a Star Wars emoji?
Yes, yeah. How ridiculous is that? when are Facebook going to give us Star Wars emojis?
I know.
Right?
Like,
you got a Starfield background. This is Facebook Messenger. You can have a Starfield background chat window, and then it just makes all your writing blue for some reason. And then I guess it's like the end credits, right? And then it's just got no Star Wars emoji. It's weird. So, all right. So you've got the Rise of Skywalker the visual dictionary, don't you?
I do, man.
What about poor old Rothgar Deng?
I know. How good is that?
I was so sad. Because I like Dengar. I really like Dengar.
That's a sad story about him.
That is a sad story.
And the thing is, he's such a bruiser as well. Like in Battlefront 1, he was so good because he was just like, oh, mate, I'm going to smack you in the face with my big gun.
Was he an Aussie in it?
Yeah, he was an Aussie in it.
Oh.
So it was a lovely view, by the way. You're nuts. Yeah, great. Dengar.
There he is, Dengar.
What brilliant black suit.
Yeah, he's an awesome figure. He's really cool.
Number 74.
Number 74. Yeah, there he is, Dengar. I can't really see him there because of the light. You see him?
Well, he looks a bit better than he does in bloody that book.
Yeah, but I mean, so what did it say about him? So he wanted to keep himself alive so he could work as a bounty hunter for longer. So he used different. He went to he cut costs, went to black market people to give him cybernetic implants, and like his face looks fucked up.
I know. He's
his
like,
eyes on stalks on the side of his head. I was really sad about that.
That's not the sort of thing you cut costs on, is it? Really?
No, especially if you want to be a good bounty hunter. Like,
yeah.
You know, and his arms look like IG-88 arms, but they look like they can't really move properly. So he's just got these.
Well, his body is a bit K2SO, isn't it? His body.
Yeah, and he's obviously got little. I like that on the picture. It's got arrows pointing at different parts of the costume, and it goes painted in his favourite colour.
That's the best thing about those visual dictionaries. It's just those weird comments in them. I love them. It's so good.
Well, okay. So, did you see the one about you? I'm guessing you read it all. So, have you seen a bit about?
I haven't read it all yet, actually. So I might miss it. Yeah.
Have you seen Palpatine's one?
I haven't, I don't think.
So obviously in the movie we're like, Oh, Palpatine's back. How come? Because, okay. So how did Palpatine come back? So those, I can't remember what they called them, the Sith, like worshippers that are around him, right? So they recovered his body, right?
Right.
Bear in mind, his body fell down a
Was
hole
blown up.
and got blown up twice, right? He blew up and then he blew up, right? In space, right?
Yeah.
But anyway,
He
so
Mary Popping that shit.
right, yeah. So they got an alert on their mobile going, Palpatine just exploded, and they're like, shit. Okay, let's leave wherever we are, the unknown regions, and we'll fly over to Endor, and we're gonna go and find his body, right? Which they did somehow, and then they used occult and technology to bring him back. That's it. That's what they gave us.
That's all you need to know, mate.
Occult and technology.
All you need to know. I'm happy with that. I'd rather not know how he did it, because it would just annoy me if it was something stupid. So,
well, it could have just been a clone body or something like that, right?
Well,
that they had ready for him.
I still don't know why they didn't do that. Because I know they did that in Dark Empire, but it makes the most sense. Clone body, dark side energy going into it.
Yeah, exactly. That's all they had to do. And then you could have had that scene with Luke, and he's like, "I'm going to destroy all your clones."
Yeah. All your clones.
Then I guess I must die.
Back into the head.
Shoots himself. Right.
Picking his nose.
And the other thing, Nunb and Tantive 4. And Tantive 4, the first ship we see in Star Wars, why did they need to destroy that? You know, I mean, come on, man. Like, let the past
not
die.
Everything can survive.
Yeah, I know, but it's Tantive 4. I mean, it's got through everything. And then they just, it just fell out of the sky. Because it wasn't even like, you know, a sort of heroic, look, there it is, and it gets blown up. No, it just fell out of the sky in the background, and so it blew up.
I think they should have blown up the Falcon. I think they should have blown the Falcon up.
Really? Why?
Yeah. I think that would have been a good... If you're saying this is the end...
Well, it's not,
you don't need the Falcon.
I mean,
but
your mate Kathleen has mentioned that we might see the characters like Rey and that in the future. So, you know, they'll want the Falcon for that.
Well, I can guarantee we will see them in the future, because in 20 years' time, those lot are going to want some money, and Disney's going to be going, oh, what can we do now? Oh, let's just bring those mofos back. Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah.
The 20th anniversary of Force Awakens, I predict there'll be a sequel, someone having it.
I reckon they'll make a sequel trilogy, and it'll have some new character who lives in the desert, who suddenly has the Force, and they'll have an enemy who's the son of one of these characters, be Finn and Poe's son.
Yeah, and adopted son.
And Rey will be living on an island somewhere, and this new character will go and find Rey, who'll throw her yellow-bladed lightsaber staff over her shoulder.
I think what they would do is, this is when they actually will adapt the legend stories, but just transplant these characters into the roles that Luke, Han, and Leia played. So, like, obviously Poe is Han, Finn is Leia, and Rey is Luke. And that's how they're changing it up.
Yeah.
And it will begin with Chewie dying. That'd be good.
We'll see. And they won't leave it that long then, because they'll need to be a little bit younger.
Why?
They won't need to be that old, right?
Because if you jump to the period of, say, the New Jedi Order, that is about 20 years after Return of the Jedi. It goes up to 35 years after Return of the Jedi.
Am I still going to be alive by then? It's like 2040. I should still be around, right? Yeah, I'll just be old.
You'll be 60. You'll be 60 on.
Yeah. Oh,
20 years time.
Yeah.
You'll be 63.
Yeah, 63. Yeah. Damn.
You'll still be working, mofo. That's the sad thing.
Yeah, true. That is the sad thing. Yeah. Thanks for brightening up my day, mate. And lastly, in The Rise of Skywalker, that awesome scene where you had young Leia and Luke practicing with their lightsabers.
Yeah, that wicked scene.
Leia was Billy Lourd.
Oh, she played the
that?
body. Yeah.
Yeah, how cool. And then they took
that's a nice touch, isn't it?
Clip from Return of the Jedi and used it for her face. And then Luke was actually played by Mark Hamill, which I thought that was quite funny because I was like, God, he moved quite fast for a fat old Mark Hamill.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, so Billy Lourd got to play him. I thought that was really nice. I thought that was good.
What's that called? Like what's it thing? Deep fake.
Deep fake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they put a deep fake in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Not a deep throat.
No, I don't think they've allowed that.
Well, Luke and Leia, they get up to together.
Yeah, right. Dodgy those two.
Dodgy.
So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all I had this week.
Mate, that's an amazing roundup of stuff to talk about. I mean, we've done a 40 minutes there, boy. I think you've done proud.
Ah, awesome.
Next week, I'm gonna talk about comics and other cool stuff.
Do you have
Star Wars Resistance
comics piled up, or have you read some already?
Yeah, I've got to read this new batch that are set in between Empire Strikes Back. I haven't started them yet, so I am going to read them next week, and so we can talk about those next week.
Awesome, cool. That's something to look forward to.
That is something to look forward to, isn't it?
I hope that they're good ones.
So do I.
For your sake.
So do I.
Cool. Right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up then for this episode.
Wrap it up.
And so you can find us all over the internet. Firstly, at Star Wars Conversations on Facebook, because that's the group where it all started.
That's where it all started.
We're also on Twitter and Instagram.
At Star Wars Convo.
We're on all the platforms for podcasts, including the TaylorNetwork podcasts, which has a whole bunch of other great shows on there.
Yeah. You can email us, starwarsconversation@gmail.com.
Is it or is it Forced Convo?
No, it's Star Wars Conversations.
We've got that one. Okay, cool. See, look what I know. And
you can still get us on Forced Conversation, Convo if you want. But
and also, if any of the topics were of any interest to you somehow, leave us a comment either on the YouTube video that we're going to be posting, which will be unedited, or on one of the podcasts, or on the Star Wars Conversations group.
Yeah, and also on YouTube and on iTunes and Spotify and wherever you're listening to us, you can leave a little review. That'd be lovely. Even if it's just putting the 5 stars in, or liking it, or subscribing on YouTube. Do those things
and click subscribe.
I'd love to have some reviews. That'd be nice.
That'd be nice. It's good to know. Good to know what people think, good or bad, but mainly good.
I don't really want to hear the bad ones.
Sometimes they're funny, but anyway, just the good ones. Whatever. Anyway, right, okay, that'll do it for this week. So
that will do it.
That will do it. Colin's got to get sleep.
I have.
Until next time.
So punch it, Chewie.
Force will be with you always.
Yes.